Welcome to the Daily AI News Digest. This broadcast is sponsored by bestai.org. Today is June 17th, 2026. We're looking at a market environment where high-end technology ambitions are directly colliding with national security imperatives. I'll be walking you through today's developments with a strictly factual, grounded analysis of the current landscape. We're moving well past the theoretical phases of artificial intelligence and right into an era governed by hard business metrics and sovereign regulations.
Before we get to the models, we first need to look at the macroeconomic backdrop to really understand the scale of the sector right now. This number, $75 billion, is the capital raised in SpaceX's recent initial public offering. This kind of liquidity event sets a new ceiling for technology valuations, and it clearly illustrates the volume of capital currently flowing into advanced engineering and compute-heavy sectors. It's the financial foundation for the high-stakes AI developments we're covering today.
On today's broadcast docket, we'll start with the Anthropic export crisis, followed by the realities of Gemini 3.5. Then, we'll cover regulation and business signals, and wrap up with the analyst's take.
Let's get right into our lead story today, the Anthropic export control crisis.
The cold facts are as follows. Over the weekend, Anthropic suspended access to its newly released Mythos 5 and Fable 5 models. This wasn't an internal product decision, it was forced by a U.S. government export control directive. The Department of Commerce stepped in after receiving reports of a cybersecurity jailbreak exploit. This was a vulnerability that reportedly allowed users to bypass safety guardrails and trick the model into identifying weaknesses in critical infrastructure. As a result, Anthropic had to pull access for all users to ensure they were complying with strict restrictions on foreign national access. Look at the timeline here to see the speed at which regulatory bodies are moving right now. On June 9th, the models launched on Amazon Web Services, specifically positioned for advanced reasoning and long-horizon agentic work. Just 3 days later, on June 12th, federal officials claimed awareness of the jailbreak exploit, and by June 15th, the Commerce Department had formally suspended the deployment. It really highlights the dual-use nature of frontier AI. Capabilities that are beneficial for software engineering overlap heavily with potential threats to cyber defense. Anthropic's official response to the intervention has been pretty firm. They stated that they believe in government oversight, provided it's transparent and grounded in technical facts. But they explicitly noted that this specific action did not adhere to those principles. So, this is now an active negotiation. Anthropic has sent leadership to Washington, D.C. to meet directly with the administration, including the Secretary of Commerce, trying to resolve the standoff and get their flagship models back online.
Moving on to product and model realities, Google Gemini 3.5.
Looking at the data, Google has established a clear pricing and capability structure. Gemini 3.5 Flash is currently in general availability, offering a 1 million token context window at about $1.50 per million input tokens. It operates natively across text, image, audio, and video in a single request. Meanwhile, Gemini 3.5 Pro, which is slated for full availability later this month, pushes the technical boundary further with a 2 million token context window. That's targeting the complex, long-context reasoning tasks that previously required far more expensive infrastructure. This sets up a stark competitive reality right now. On one side, Google is deploying Gemini 3.5 Flash globally as the new default across its consumer apps, enterprise platforms, and APIs completely unimpeded. On the other side, Anthropic's most advanced configurations, Mythos 5 and Fable 5, are suspended under those strict export controls. For developers and enterprises actively building out workflows, this is a very real operational test regarding platform reliability and sovereign risk. Next up, let's look at regulation, policy, and business signals. The suspension of Anthropic's models didn't happen in a vacuum. It was preceded by the June 2nd White House executive order on promoting advanced artificial intelligence innovation and security. That order mandated the strengthening of federal cyber defenses within 30 days and created a new AI cybersecurity clearinghouse. Most notably, it established a pre-release framework for what the government calls covered frontier models. While it was initially labeled a voluntary process for security assessments, recent events clearly indicate a much more rigid expectation of compliance for highly capable dual-use models. Despite the regulatory tightening at the frontier, enterprise adoption is actually accelerating. Today, Deloitte announced the launch of a new AI studio on its London campus in collaboration with Google Cloud. The core metric to focus on here is 1,000. Deloitte is starting an intensive program to upskill 1,000 of its UK specialists on Google's Gemini Enterprise. Their explicit goal is to move British organizations past the experimental pilot phase and directly into deploying autonomous, action-oriented agentic AI systems at scale. We're seeing similarly targeted implementation in the financial sector. HSBC announced a multi-year partnership with Google Cloud to deploy AI capabilities globally. They've identified over 200 new AI use cases for the next 2 years alone. The bank is prioritizing its highest value initiatives, estimating that each of these prime deployments could return more than $100 million in direct revenue gains or measured efficiency improvements.
To hit those $100 million returns, HSBC is targeting 3 specific operational areas. First is hyper-personalized wealth management support, combining AI insights with relationship manager expertise. Second is stronger financial crime risk management, using Agentic AI to detect risks earlier across the nearly 1 billion transactions they process every month. And third is empowering frontline teams by codifying regulatory procedures into an AI structure to drastically cut down administrative prep time. These aren't just basic chatbots, these are core infrastructural integrations.
Let's move to the analyst take. Why does this all matter right now? The cold business reality is this: the industry is definitively transitioning into an era where autonomous systems execute complex, multi-step workflows. We're seeing this industrialization happening clearly with HSBC and Deloitte, but the Anthropic situation demonstrates that this capability frontier is no longer a totally free market. It's now strictly bound by sovereign intelligence mandates, export controls, and national security perimeters. The speed of a company's AI deployment is now contingent not just on compute power, but on compliance with federal cyber defense priorities.
As we close out today's explainer, we have to look ahead to the next macro catalyst. Tomorrow, the Federal Reserve will make its scheduled announcement regarding interest rates and inflation data. For a highly capitalized sector that relies on favorable lending environments to fund data center and compute buildouts, any signal of persistent inflation can materially impact valuations across the board. How the market absorbs that data is what we'll be tracking closely. Thank you for joining this broadcast. Remember to visit our sponsor, bestai.org, for further grounded analysis.